Hey everybody, working on the carbon fiber build here. Got the neck on, got the leg bar all marked out, but before I spend half a day drilling this stuff, I want to put the strings on it and get the neck brake angle, the neck shim set, because there's a little bit more flex here at the heel than I was expecting, and it's possible, unlikely, but it's possible that this just isn't going to be strong enough. I've been trying to figure out what the limits are as far as like how low you can go in a guitar, so to speak, and one of the limitations I've found is that if the neck joint is so flexible that just picking it up off the bench throws it severely out of tune, then that's too flexible. You can get guitars that actually flex when they're under tension, almost like stringing a bow. Those work. They're more work. They're a pain by comparison to set them up correctly, because you got to string everything up and then figure out your amount of neck shim, and then unstring it and put in the shim, and then string it back up in order to check it. So it makes it that much harder. But once you get the neck shim set correctly, despite the fact that the body bows under tension, under tuning tension, you can still set them up and they still work fine as a guitar. But if they're too thin, then not only do they bow, but they also will unbow when you pick them up off the bench, or bow back down again when you put them down on the bench after tuning them in the playing position. And that's just too little in the way of, that's too much flexibility in the body, and which leads to too little stability in the tuning. And so it's possible that could happen here. And so before I spend like half a day drilling leg bar holes and then spend another half a day hooking up the electronics, as it stands right now, acoustically, except for attaching the bridge, the guitar is done. All you have to do is final setup, which would include possibly neck brake angle, as well as adjusting saddle height. And so I'm thinking, go ahead and put the bridge on and string it up and get the neck brake angle set. And then if that works and it doesn't flex too much, then the build can be considered a partial success at least. And there won't be anything between me and finishing except slapping on a leg bar and electronics, basically. But if I string it up and tune it up and find out that it has too much flex in it and just picking it up off the bench throws it out of tune, then at that point I think I'd have to declare this a fail, and I wouldn't bother with the leg bar, I wouldn't bother putting the electronics on it. I'd probably take the neck off and eventually make a wood body for this guitar, make yet another X13 or something like that. So yeah, I think really what I need to do is just give it the electric Kool-Aid acid test, slap some strings on it, tune it up, see where that neck brake angle is at, and get the neck brake angle correct, or at least close enough that I can see whether the thing's going to have flex issues. And at that point, whether it has flex issues or not is going to be the no-go break point for whether the build is a fail or the build is a success, and I continue the build to completion. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some strings on it and see what happens. Wrong size. There we go. Actually looks like these are all the way out pretty much. They say it helps if you screw the bridge on before you tighten up the strings. doesn't seem to be going in straight here. Might not be long enough. Well, I guess I need the next size up, and I guess I'll have to cut them off probably. Time to go fish for screws. I'm almost definitely going to have to cut these off, but that's the next longest size. They will do for the moment for testing purposes. Assuming they thread up. There we go. The bridge is now attached. Want to watch me fiddle through this? Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not. Oh, I got the strings on. This is going to be hard. There we go. There we go. Untangled. Tilt that up. Stick that in there. Being a pain, being a pain. Might have to take the strings back off. Or maybe the spring isn't fully seated. I don't know. I'll get it back on. I'll be back. Well, I had to take the strings off and loosen up the tension all the way. Fidget with it a little bit, but got the bridge back on. So like it's in the it's locked in hardtail position right now for string up. Okay, strings are back on. It's definitely going to need some neck shim, but let me go ahead and tune it up. I want to see how much this is going to flex. It doesn't seem to have much flexor at all at the moment. It seems to still be pretty flat, so I'm going to bring it up to tension and see what happens. Well, I've got it more or less tuned up to tension, and I think it's got too much flex. You can hit like the low E here, and let me tune it back up again. There you go. Low E, neck's resting on the bench. And then you pick it up so that it's not resting on the bench. Hit the low E again, and it's almost an F. Yeah, so, and then you see you set it back down and it goes back down to E again. So, yeah, that's too much flex. It really needs to be more stable than that when you pick it up and put it down. Because if it's that unstable, then you're also going to have issues when you're playing it. So, I think I'm going to have to declare this to be a fail. As much as I regret it, but yeah, I think I'm going to have to declare it to be a fail. The 10mm stuff here is just not quite up to the task, so let's see if you can get a good angle that maybe right about, yeah. I mean, you can probably see it's got a little bit of a bend right there. So yeah, and it's got flex too, so I mean the flex isn't that bad, but it's still there. It's still there, so wait a sec. If we can get level with the strings, there you go. Now let's see some flex. Yeah, see it flexing. So yeah, that's, yeah, you can see the strings moving there. That's a little bit too much flex. I mean, it's close, but it's just a little too much. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to declare this a fail. I'll be back in a moment with final thoughts. Okay, it was a fail. Why? Because these, just using two 10mm tubes is not enough. Too much flex here. How to fix it? Either increase the number of tubes or the size of the tubes or both until this gets to be stiff enough that flexibility is no longer an issue. It's okay if it bends a little under tension, as long as it just goes up and stays up. But if it moves around too much. If it moves around enough to throw it out of tune, just picking it up off the bench, then that's too flexible. So, so that's how you would fix that. And then as far as like thoughts on carbon fiber in general, I think I'd have to say that needs, no. Nice. I don't think the weight savings is significant enough to really make it something that you'd even consider to be nice, or, you know. So, I mean, you wouldn't notice the weight savings, let's put it that way, versus if this was done in like a pine or something. So, yeah. And then bling, obviously it has bling points to it, being carbon fiber and all high-tech looking and stuff like that. But then you get down to, like, you know, the engineering analysis side of it. First off, you'd need something bigger or more, which is going to increase the overall size of your heel. Now you're already pretty close to what works in wood, which is a triangular kind of heel like this and a little thicker than 10. It'll work in like about 15 mil in more or less any solid piece of wood. And so now, yeah, maybe going to a body made out of 15s or something. One of the reasons why I chose the 10s was because it was an easy way to fit around this bridge without having to like split tubes in half or something ugly like that. So that was, and I was thinking that this stuff is pretty darn stiff and that it just might work, but apparently it was just a little bit over the edge as far as like that goes. So yeah. It looks cool. On the upside, it looks cool, okay? On the downside, it's fidgety glue, it's hell to cut and drill, it's more expensive. So yeah, hassle-benefit ratio, you know, if you're looking for carbon fiber for a look and for, you know, bragging rights and whatever, then yeah. That'd be about the only reason, though. The hassle-benefit ratio doesn't really seem to make, at least this way of doing it, it doesn't seem to really make it worthwhile. Not in my book, at least. I mean, I might, you know, come up with a new idea of a different way to do it that ought to work better and decide to have at it again. I mean, it's not that hard to do. It's just, it's a lot easier to do this kind of stuff in wood. And it does ring out real nice. But, you know, I don't really think it's going to make a super big difference versus, you know, other builds that ring out nicely. So yeah, I don't know. From the way I'm talking, it's pretty obvious that I'm not going to do any more work on this, not in its current state with this body at least. I might make a wood body for it. I might come up with a new carbon fiber design and have at it again. It's actually a fairly good possibility of that, just because it looks cool. And then I would have an old carbon, yeah, just for the bling and the bragging rights, I just might have to do that. Because, I mean, it is cool, so, yeah, it's just too bad that didn't quite work out. But, live and learn, live and learn. Yeah, so, I guess that's about all I've got to say on it. Is it looks cool, but it's, you know, more expensive, and it's hell to work with. Or at least it's hell to cut and drill. And filing, you know, took a little while too. It's difficult to work. It's like working metal, really. Like working mild steel more than anything. So, yeah. The difference between working mild steel and working wood, yeah, it's kind of the same difference between working with this stuff and working with wood. So, yeah. That's what you're looking at as far as like difficulty in working with the material. And yeah, I don't think I'm going to be doing more than perhaps maybe one more to fix this thing. And after that, I probably wouldn't, I don't think I'm going to be doing any more carbon fiber bodies. And the next really, to tell you the truth there, I mean, it's like you're twice the cost, and I mean, this works perfectly as far as like the profile and everything goes, but you're twice the cost. And once again, you have the issues of difficult to work with and fidgety glue and all that kind of stuff. And labor-wise, I mean, you gotta, versus modding like an eBay neck, you're probably looking at more work to do to fret a fretboard and glue it all up with the tubes and cut all the tubes and drill everything than it is to just take an eBay neck and have at it with the angle grinder. So, yeah, so I mean, it's like these things are probably a little bit more work to make than it is to mod an eBay neck, and they cost about twice as much in materials, and the only real functional benefit is no truss rod. And other than that, they're more or less identical to the wood versions, and they weigh, you know, a few hundred grams less or something like that. But they still have, you know, they still feel like a neck as far as the weight goes, so it's not that significant. So I don't really even think that I'll be doing a whole lot of carbon fiber necks going forward either. You know, I was thinking there for a while that I was gonna, that if this worked, I might just start building these kind of guitars and not ever go back to wood, kind of a thing. But after the experience of having to cut and drill this stuff, I'm not so sure about that. It definitely doesn't make sense from a engineering point of view, except for the bragging rights and bling values. So, but I think I'm done rambling. I probably repeated everything I had to say about 4 times now, so I think you get the idea. What's next? Still waiting on parts for the Flying V, and like running low on builds again. Yeah, waiting for a roller bridge on the Flying V. Oh, I have to finish guitar number 6. The parts are, the swing bar and thumb screw are out of the paint shop, finally. And so, yeah, I need to finish guitar number 6. And then, I haven't even ordered parts yet for the fretless, so that's probably not going to be for a while, because parts usually take 4 to 6 weeks to arrive. And then the only other thing I was planning at the moment was I was planning on doing a low budget build where I would see how little money I could spend to build basically an X6 type design, because that's going to be the least expensive design to build. And yeah, so I was going to try to do that. Last time I priced it out, I came out with an estimated price of right around $100 if you were to just like go out and buy everything and then come home and build one. So yeah, I think I'm going to be doing that pretty soon. That'll probably be that, and the Flying V and Guitar 6 are pretty much all I got going on now. So until the next one, everybody, go make some sawdust. Not carbon fiber dust. Go make sawdust. Right? And have a good one.